What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the PlayStation Drive episode 88. My name is Matt, and I'll be your host for this wonderful Adventures event. I'm joined, as always, by the Supreme Court of Canada himself, Mr. Court Lalonde. What's up, Court? And do you have Audacity going?
I'm trying to. It keeps screwing up. I had to reset it, so hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. I do have Audacity going.
Yay! We have Audacity going. We're good.
No, because we just had it going. For the listeners out there, we just finished recording our beautiful, amazing Last of Us episode 3 recap.
Episode 4 recap.
Jesus, I have my brain today. It's just
You had to
give up. You
had a beautiful discussion with Seth last week on episode 3, which if you haven't watched, go check that out. Seth. I want to give the biggest shout out to Seth. He held it down with us for the past few weeks. And of course, you know, he's not able to join us today for the Last of Us episode, but he will be back. And because we love him, we're always excited all about that. But on this week's PlayStation Drive episode 88, we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of different stuff, including Discord on PlayStation, God of War sales, Wolverine possibly being rated M, and so much more. So strap in and get ready. But before we do all that, let's quickly give our dirty old garage a quick little clean. If you're watching us live on YouTube right now at youtube.com/Carpool Gaming, make sure you like, subscribe, share, hit that bell so you're notified when we go live. Join us for the YouTube subscription membership things, which I'm forgetting the name about, but join us there too if you have the ability to do so. We appreciate all of you very much. There we go. Yeah, that's the name. If you're listening to us on your podcast network of choice, make sure you hit us with that 5 stars. Leave us those reviews. It helps us grow and reach more people all around the world so that they can hang out with us.
All around the world.
And if you have an extra couple bucks to toss our way, please head over to patreon.com/Carpool Gaming. Toss bucks in the tip jar. Out comes a cornucopia of content for you to consume for your whenever you want to consume it. Yeah, go do that. And of course, on this week's episode, Court, we're about to kick things off with, Court, I have to tell you, I'm gonna kick back in the chair here a little bit because
tweets are all done. Whew.
Perfect.
Right.
Thanks.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. I'm gonna kick back here for a sec because whenever I go anywhere with friends, and like of course I was shout out to Uniqlo for the PlayStation shirts. They haven't sponsored this, but if you wanted to, Uniqlo, hit us up. We will wear it. But we are here. I like to make sure that everybody's musical interests are properly displayed whenever you're in a group of people. I usually go around the room, grab a song from each person, and build our own little playlist. And I want to do that today with you in video game.
And wear
land.
matching shirts.
Matching shirts. Exactly. Look at us go. Of course, I saw these pop on Uniqlo's website last week, and I messaged Court right away, being like, "Court, I bought them. You have to buy them too. Let's matchy." And of course, here we are, Court. Dealing with my insistence for ridiculous stuff, but Court,
PlayStation 1 is the better. I truly think there's a bunch of different ones, but I didn't buy the blue one. I'm gonna be honest. I thought it was I
like the blue one, but yeah, to each their own, Court. But what have you been playing lately? What has been on your playlist?
Well, I have been playing a little game called Dead Space Remake, and I have been loving every minute of it. One thing I miss about old games such as Dead Space is one, saving the game while you're playing it, because Dead Space has save points, but I also miss the little noises from the games. Like it's very linear, right? It is Metrovania as you can go back, and there is New Game Plus to play it again, and so on and so forth. And you have different levels, but also, I'm not scared of the game. I don't know what it is. This is the one horror game for some reason. Not a chance. There's nothing that scares me. A body falls down. I even recorded. There's this. You're just walking and this body just falls down in front of me. I'm like, move on, continue. No jump scares out of me. No, I got nothing. But I thoroughly want more remakes now because of this. I look at this and go, EA did a phenomenal job, and also you can go in and get the old suit. So you can go to the rig you're wearing. You can actually go to the shop inside the game, and you can get the rig from the EA's original Dead Space, and you'll look like that if you want. To be totally honest, I did it. It looked terrible. I want it to look nice and shiny. So I put back on the new rig, but I think they did a phenomenal job from the ground up to make this game look next gen. I was playing in my basement with the lights out and the headphones on, and my wife came in and tapped me on the shoulder. That scared the living daylights out of me because Dead Space does a phenomenal job with the atmosphere and the music and the sounds and letting everything go. And the 3D audio in this game, it's just great. It makes me as someone that likes this and also likes BioShock, who also has that ambiance, just like go back. Like we're making so many bad games and these like, free to play games and all these like battle royales that they're shutting down left, right, and center. And it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
how about just take these amazing titles that, half these kids that are playing right now have never played. Heck, we found out 33% of the people don't even own a PlayStation 4 and they have a PlayStation 5. Like, give me BioShock. Go back and remake Infamous. Make these things that we know are good.
I know.
So that is what I've been playing along with Dreamlight Valley that has new content that's dropping today at 3
Nice.
o'clock. And my daughter is all excited when she gets home from school. We get Encanto and we get
Nice.
a little snowman called Olaf. So
Olaf?
yeah, Olaf's in the
Nice.
game today. So my wife is actually downstairs playing it right now because she's off.
Right.
So she's playing it right now to level up everybody so that my daughter will be able to get that.
Yes, the family bonding over the game. I absolutely love that. That's awesome, dude. And you know what? I'm going to make a promise. I'm going to pick up Dead Space probably next week. I've never played it, and again, I'm not one for a lot of spooky games, but I feel like I need to do this one. I missed it the first time around. I don't want to make that same mistake again. You know what I mean?
I think you'd really like the mechanics. The one thing I like is the puzzles aren't too complicated.
Oh, good.
Like, oh, I've got to do this, and it's not complicated. I'm not the puzzle guy, and they're fine. Like Uncharted puzzles are harder. That's all I'm gonna say.
Good. I'm gonna quote Locklith here, and because I do have a bit of a pigeon brain as well, I can't really stand for overly complicated puzzles. So if you're telling me that that's a good thing, I'm with you. I'm excited about that. As for myself, of course, I was on vacation last week, so I didn't play too much. Marvel Snap continues to dominate my time. I picked up a game called The Space for the Unbound, which Seth has talked about before, which I'm very, very excited. I've only put about half an hour into it so far, but I remember playing the demo back in the day. It is a beautiful, beautiful game about mental health, about anxiety, about so much. And I think it's actually the next Backtrackers game as well. So if you're curious at all, make sure you go check out that game. It's made by a very small Indonesian studio, and I'm very, very excited to keep going with it. And the other thing I hopped into was the OG Final Fantasy VII. I went to look and I had it on PlayStation already from when I picked it up on PS4. Started it back up, and I have like, the 3 times speed on. I'm using like I put it on I'm using the button to kind of refill a health or whatever. I just want to blitz through it. Apparently you can do it in like 20 to 25 hours. I just want to see the story in its original form. I've been on a huge Final Fantasy kick down the 7 rabbit hole, watching a bunch of theories and stuff for Rebirth lately. So I'm going to keep going with that. But yeah, I think, and of course, shout out to the folks, to the devs over at, Behind Seasons. I'm excited to hop into that as well. Court and I
love that game. You can check out a review on Carpool Gaming. Check it out on youtube.com/Carpool Gaming.
Yeah, go check out Court's review. I'm very excited to have a wonderful review discussion with Court once I'm through the game, which you probably look for that in the next couple weeks. But yeah, dude, that's kind of been everything that's been on my docket, and we have a whole bunch of news to talk about today. So let's get a quick little transition, and we're going to keep things rolling with our first story coming from VGC, written by Chris Scullion. Sony claims nearly 30% of active PS5 users never used PS4. The company believes this shows it continues to acquire new players. The claim was shared as part of a company presentation during its Q3 2022 results for this financial year, in which Sony noted that the percentage of monthly active users increased by around 30% in December. In addition, it said, nearly 30% of PS5's monthly active users are users who never used PS4. So with the spread of PS5, the acquisition of new users is progressing. Of course, Court, we're seeing more PS5s in the wild. We're even seeing the marketing kick up with like the giant Leviathan axe in London and a whole bunch of other stuff. How surprised are you that the PS5, that nearly 30% of users didn't own a PS4?
Not surprised at all, because video games are becoming more and more common practice. If you remember what the Marvel movies did back in the day and the TV shows, and all of a sudden the culture became, that's okay. Comic books are now cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think video games are slowly being there now, and I think The Last of Us is going to help it extra. Like, it's just unbelievable what The Last of Us is doing. The amount of people that I know that don't play video games are talking about this and wanting to play the game. So this doesn't surprise me at all. And you're always also going to have newer generations. Like I said before, these remakes, there are people playing Dead Space that haven't played it, or like weren't even alive when it came out the first time. Like that. We need to stop thinking whenever a remake or anything stuff like comes out and it's like, oh, they're giving us another thing. You know what? We're old. There's people that are not old. There's people that don't know that this is a remake, or even if they do, it's not something they would have played. So this is great. I look at this as, I'm sure that some of the same statistics are coming from the other consoles, like the Nintendos and the Xboxes of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's because more and more people are playing video games, and it's no longer this thing that, ooh, you're playing video games, because
Yeah.
the pandemic accelerated that, because people were stuck inside and a lot of people got back into gaming and they hadn't played in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And now people are like, oh, I really like it. Like, heck, I was talking to Sean today. I'm in shock how much my wife has been playing video games lately.
There you go.
She is hooked on Dreamlight Valley. So it started when we started playing Mario Odyssey as a family. We finished it. Then we finished 3D World. And then she started playing Dreamlight Valley with my daughter. My wife is downstairs grinding right now. Like, that's what she's doing. She's playing the game.
Yep. I think we're starting to see, well, I think we've been seeing this shift over the last number of years, and we're starting to see it become just stronger and stronger with, the idea of video games not just being, the Pong that you remember, the Super Mario Bros. Of 40 years ago, right? We're starting to see more storytelling. We're starting to see more variety of games. We're starting to see genuinely there is a game for everyone out there now, whether it's AAA, whether it's indie, whether it's mobile, whether it's wherever it is. There genuinely is a game for everyone nowadays. And so I'm happy to see, like, and like you mentioned, like, I know there was a huge kick and, people always get a little grumpy when there's a new remake announced, but it's just like, there are some games that genuinely deserve it. There are some games that should be celebrated in that way. I was happily wrong about The Last of Us Part 1 and how influential that game is, and how many people, the sales are skyrocketing across PS4 and PS5 again because of the show.
Heck, they delayed the release of the PC version of it. So I don't know if anybody knows, it was like semi not really announced, but the date of the PC version for The Last of Us has now been changed to coincide with the last episode on HBO.
Yep, and there you go. I'm just switching over to The Verge here from Jay Peters, because again, like Court's saying, the PSC was delayed. It's coming now on March 28th. They put out a statement basically saying that they want some more time to clean up the game and make sure it is as awesome as it's going to be.
Or they like money.
Or they like money, which again, of course they like money. Who wouldn't like money? They're The Last of Us is one of their biggest cash cows. So even like you mentioned, like, Dead Space, I missed it the first time around. There are plenty of people who have been gamers, who have been around since those games initially dropped, who just may not have been financially in a position to pick it up at the time, or may have missed it around that first mark. So given these, kind of landmark games, these huge experiences from back in the day, why not bring them back for a new audience? Why not let people connect with it in a different way? I'm very excited, genuinely, to pick up Dead Space and have my first run through with it. And you know what? If this remake didn't exist, I would have never played it.
Heck, I would even suggest to people, if you're picking up this and you're picking up Star Wars, I did the math. It was actually cheaper for me to join EA Play, pre-order both games, so I could get the discount. It actually saved me money still.
Do you know
so
what's
if you're
so
getting
funny?
how many EA games, do the math, because it's actually cheaper to join EA Play so that you can get the discount on these two games.
And actually, what I'm going to shout out as well is if you're able to play on PC, because this is the current part of my dilemma. EA Play Pro, which is only available on PC, all of the EA games come out day and date on that service. It's like $100 or $120 for the year. So it's basically
that's the same as buying both games.
Exactly. And that's like essentially if you sign up for the membership, you'll get Dead Space, Jedi Survivor comes out, you'll get Jedi Survivor, Wild Hearts
NHL,
comes out in February.
FIFA,
all of those games will hit. Again, the caveat there is it has to be on PC. But again, like, if you're able to play on PC, there's an avenue for you there, which is genuinely pretty cool. So I love how even like I remember seeing a tweet from Greg Miller talking about how he's so happy with where The Last of Us is now as an IP and how many people are now celebrating it. And it's just like, heck yeah, like, let's bring more people into the space. There's too much gatekeeping for a lot of the space, and let people in, let people enjoy what they want to enjoy and play that they want to play.
Yeah, but now it's just gonna be more people arguing.
For sure.
She's be like, you're gonna have friends. You're gonna go to a party and never talk to you about video games, and like, have you ever played The Last of Us? You're like, yeah, and they're like, so what'd you think of the ending? I'm like, oh, okay, so we're going here now. All right, let's see how this works.
I'll just say, part 2 is better and has a better ending anyway. So like,
it really doesn't. But you know what? That's going to become more of a thank God we get to rub it in your face, because once people get to watch season 2 and 3, because I think we're both right. It will be season 2 and 3.
100%.
Too long of a game.
Yep.
That you will be proven wrong. So,
I mean, we'll see.
Hey, I'm already of the mind that I want a remake of Last of Us Part 2.
Dude, I after what we got, I at least want to
with news we're going to be talking about. There's certain stuff they can do now with the console,
with a whole bunch of stuff. Which let's hop over into our next story. Actually, no, we're going to bypass that. We're going to come back to that one because I want to talk about the PS5 beta, which was announced and is out now. Introduces Discord voice chat, VRR support for 1440p and more. This is written by Hideaki Nishino. As for the PS5 console continues to evolve, we're excited to deliver new features to our community. Today we're rolling out the next PS5 system software beta with a number of fan requested features. We got new social features, including joining a Discord voice chat on your PS5 console. You're going to have to make sure, here we go. If you've linked your PSN and Discord accounts in the past to display what game you're playing, you'll need to link your accounts again on your PS5 console for new permissions. So Court and I, we talked about that a few weeks ago. You will have to, there you go. We will have to relink it. There you go. And of course, we're getting some other stuff. You can now request a share screen from your friend's profile. Some new other social elements there. Non-gameplay stuff. And VRR support.
VRR for 1440p.
For 1440p, that's right. Let's see if there's anything else. Game library enhancements. There's some more filtering options, some more accessibility stuff. PS4 to PS5 save data migration. Apparently, it's now easier, Court.
Yes, and also you can update your controller wirelessly.
Yes, you can. You don't need to plug that thing in anymore to update it, which was always so aggravating. So we're getting a whole bunch of stuff. The beta's out now. It looks, if rumors and hullabaloo are to believe, that this is going to go wide in March. I'm not part of the beta, but Court, are you? And what do you think so far?
I am, and just to let anybody know, it's very simple. You can actually go on their webpage and you just sign up. And I got an email within 24 hours. I've been part of a couple of the betas and I hopped out. This one I wanted to hop in because I wanted to start trying something new and going on YouTube and then talking in Discord. I'm having more issues now because of the beta. I found out because I actually had to call PlayStation support because of the beta. I can't stream to PlayStation because it's screwing up. Like for some reason, I can't stream my PlayStation to YouTube. There's an error that's being caused and it's in the beta. It's not going to get fixed because there's just no reason to. Okay. So I'll have to wait when this finally goes live to be able to stream. But I did test out the Discord features. It does work.
Excellent.
And I love that. I personally, the reason why I want it is I want to be able to spend more time with the community. And then when I'm having my lunch, I'm playing video games most of the time on my lunch. I can be like, I can throw it into the Discord. I can be and talk to everybody while I'm on YouTube playing the game, and people can see what game I'm playing. It's probably not going to be a new game half the time, but like if it was right now, we'll be playing Dead Space. Mm-hmm. So, I am all for new features. I still think something I wanted to talk to you about. I need a feature to be made mandatory.
Well,
so
which feature would that be, Cord?
So it has to do with trophies.
Okay.
So PlayStation has trophy tracking, but it only has it on some games.
Mm-hmm.
Xbox makes it
very quickly. What do you mean by trophy tracking? In case there's somebody who's unawares.
So for right now, I am playing Dead Space Remake.
Okay,
brand new game on the PlayStation 5,
mm-hmm.
and it has some collect this, kill this many people.
Right.
Well, oddly enough, it doesn't track it. So when I go into my trophy section, it just says this is what you have to do to get the trophy. It doesn't tell me the percentage. When you're playing Borderlands, mm-hmm. Borderlands 3, I was just playing it. It does trophy tracking for you. There's a lot of games, first-party games, Sony first-party games, always do the trophy tracking because I'm sure they just make it mandatory for them. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of us that like collecting trophies. Please just make it mandatory. Like I've never understood why Sony doesn't make having a platinum mandatory or this. Like Seasons just finished it, doesn't even have a platinum. Like, and according to Greg Miller, I've heard him a million times, it's because the developer didn't ask.
Yep.
And I never understand why they always think trophies or achievements or whatever is always a second hand. There's a lot. I would say 40% of gamers care. That's still a huge chunk. I wouldn't say a lot. I wouldn't say over 50, but 40% of gamers care. So I'm just like, why don't it's obviously just flipping a switch. Just put trophy tracking on. That's all I want.
I'd be curious to know because you mentioned that Xbox does do it. I'd be curious to know if Dead Space on Xbox has that functionality built into it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I'm almost going to guarantee it does, but I'll have to look. But because I love that about Xbox for achievements, it always does the tracking.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, like even just like letting you know how much you have left is huge because again, it just helps you manage your time better. So I'm with you.
How many audio logs you need? This, that. I'm like, come on. Yeah. Some games are very good at doing it in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like you'll go on the map, it'll say this is what you need, but come on, please.
please. PlayStation, please. Let's keep this train rolling into our next story coming from Andy Robinson over on Video Games Chronicle. Insomniac's Wolverine game is reportedly targeting a mature rating. The in-development Marvel game could release as early as late 2024, it's claimed. That, according to Giant Bomb's reporter Jeff Grubb, who shared supposed details on the in-development project during a live stream on Thursday. Hard R is what they're going for. That's one of the concepts that I've heard. I think an M-rated Wolverine could work. I think an M-rated superhero game could work, and this is probably the right character. They will also avoid having any links or anything that evokes the Fox movies, so that they want to stand on their own. I was trying to nail down the setting, and I've heard it will start before he joins the X-Men, which also makes sense for a Wolverine game. As early as fall 2024, it could be 2025, so either one of them could still happen. But it looks like we're going to be getting possibly an M-rated, full blood, guts, and gore Wolverine game, which, if you remember, the Wolverine, the one that we got the license game that tied back in the movie back in the PS3 era, was also M and did have dismemberment, which was awesome. Court, how do you feel about Wolverine possibly getting an M rating?
Oh, I'm all for it. I think that game like Deadpool should have a M rating. It's more. I got more out of it that they're giving us the origin story.
Mm-hmm.
So this will be, from what I understand, most of this stuff is it going to be canon? Like, I'm more curious to that. Like, what are we getting here? If we're getting an origin story, then obviously we're getting Sabretooth. There's going to be a lot of things. Is the Incredible Hulk going to be in there?
Mm-hmm.
They've already said that he's Canadian, so we're going to get like that whole thing with Wolverine. But
Weapon
yes,
X.
this totally makes sense to be, because if you're going to do an origin story of Wolverine, I don't know how you don't. It would be weird, Wolverine with claws and there is no blood. It'd be very weird.
Yeah, I'm with you entirely. Like, I think depending on the superhero, I think it works entirely. Stuff like this, stuff like Blade, even something like a Daredevil could easily work with an M rating.
100% Daredevil.
Yeah, like, I don't need Spider-Man to have an M rating. There's no need for that. But Wolverine, given the character, given his abilities, it makes 100% sense to give him, I really do hope we get the full dismemberment. I can already imagine him, with the giant helmet on, running, completely butt exposed through the laboratory as he's busting out his Weapon X, and just let me cleave some heads off of people as I make that run. I don't think that's a lot to ask for, given that it's Wolverine. So I hope that this is true. I think this would be really, really cool. And also I hope it would, again, kind of start showing us that these games can work. I hope that Marvel will start to play a little bit more in the deeper end of things. Not everything needs to be super family friendly and super outgoing and bubbly or whatever. And again, they could easily even put in a toggle in, or a lot of the games who have, things like dismemberment, who have like a lot of gore. There's a lot of toggles for that kind of stuff nowadays. So, I mean, that could also be an option where this game could also include that to let younger players still play and enjoy the game. So I hope this is right, Court, because I really, really want an M-rated Wolverine game. Real bad.
100%.
Let's move on to our next story, because God of War Ragnarok hits 11 million copies sold. This is coming from GamesBeat, written by, I do not see, Rachel Kasser. Apologies if I messed your name up. Coming from a tweet, we're incredibly humbled that God of War Ragnarok has officially sold through 11 million copies. None of this would be possible without the support of our fans, so thank you for coming on this journey. So it seems that the more than double of its sales have achieved in the first week after launch, November 9th, 2022. And of course, sold through means that the games are in people's hands. It's not just that they've shipped to the stores. These are actual sold units. Court, 11 million in 2 months for God of War Ragnarok.
Crazy. What was God of War, the
OG?
The first one? Yeah.
Good question. Let me check.
But I still think this is phenomenal. Once again, I think gaming is on the huge upswing. Like, all this makes me think is, oh my God, what is Spider-Man 2 gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's a question, so we'll get right into it once you look up. But was the last God of War 15 total?
So I just looked it up. So God of War 2018 sold 5 million units within its first month, and by November 2022, so Ragnarok's launch, 23 million units sold through. So
23 million. It's already at 11.
Ragnarok has already almost hit that 50% mark in its first 2 months. And like, I have to wonder how much of this also is played into the fact that we got God of War on PC.
That's almost 50% of all people that have a PlayStation 5 bought this, because if they've sold just over 30 million consoles, that means, and that number isn't, that doesn't mean, that number is just, that's how many they made, and that's what's in the stores. Doesn't mean purchase, because you can see them everywhere now. But that's almost, wow, that's a huge number.
It's
Huge
massive.
number.
And like I wonder how much of this, like, because again, we got God of War 2018 on PC earlier, last year at the beginning of 2022. So I wonder how many people played that, ended up going out and picking up the PS5 in anticipation of Ragnarok. And of course, this is also counting the fact that this is PS4 and PS5 copies, right? Because God of War Ragnarok was across both
Cross.
systems. Across both systems. There we go.
You can do
So
it. You can do it.
thanks,
I have
buddy.
I have faith.
I
Yeah.
did it across. Yeah, monster numbers. Like, what
Yeah.
do you think that this will end up surpassing the OG at 23 million units?
Yes, because you're gonna have sales that'll get it there.
Yeah, and a lot of patient
Like,
gamers.
yeah. Well, but I think more and more patient gamers. We saw it in our Discord today. How many people were like, "Yeah, no, I'm in on this game, just waiting for a sale."
Yep.
I was waiting for a sale on Dead Space, and then my FOMO just destroyed me, and I
Yep.
had to get it.
That's where I'm
I
at.
know it's not a long game, so I was like, I can do it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the FOMO right now. I'm like, oh, I want to play this game. But yeah, I think it's incredibly likely that this will end up, surpassing its predecessor. I think the 23 million units it'll clear, and especially because PS5s being more readily available is a very recent thing. I can only imagine that there are a group of people who are waiting to get a PS5 to play God of War Ragnarok because again, the game looks stunning on PS5. So this is awesome. This is great. I'm very, very curious to see how this will kind of continue to shake out. And as you mentioned, I'm going to pop off here for just a quick second. We do have a couple questions about this. And again, if you want your questions read on the show, make sure you hop over to YouTube, leave them in the comments, join the free Discord where you can ask us questions there as well. Or when the tweet goes live, ask your questions there as well. We got a couple questions. Nagachaka asks over on the Discord, are you guys surprised with God of War Ragnarok selling 11 million copies already? What do you want to see next from Santa Monica Studio, Court?
I want to see that IP that they're supposedly working on. I want to know what it is.
I know, right?
They
Whatever Cory Barlog is doing.
Yeah, Cory Barlog is doing a new IP, and I want to know what it is. That's what I want to know, because I would think the other team is we're getting more God of War Ragnarok. We're getting more. I still think we're going to get that Atreus solo Uncharted Legacy type game. I think we're going to get that, but we wouldn't get that this year. We might not even get it next year, but I want to know what Cory Barlog's working on. That's what I want to know.
I'm with you. I think the if there is an Atreus spinoff, Lost Legacy, I do think that it I don't know, it may not hit close to Spider-Man, but I think that might be like a Q1 thing next year. It probably makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm with you 100%. I want new IP. I want to see whatever Cory's working on after what he did with 2018's God of War. I just want to know what's next. Give it to me.
Yeah, if Hi-Fi Rush hasn't proven anything, every now and then the studio that you don't is always made something, let them make something else every now and then.
Exactly. And RealDeal_J O'Neill over on Twitter asks, hey guys, hope you both are doing well. With Sony recently releasing God of War Ragnarok and it's sold 11 million copies, I'm curious how many copies do you think that Spider-Man 2 will sell? Have a great day, guys. Thank you, RealDeal_J O'Neill. What do you think we're going to get with Spider-Man 2?
He didn't, I would say 8 million in its first month.
Okay.
In the first month. This game, I truly think this will set records for Sony. I think this will be its fastest selling, most selling game ever.
Probably.
To be totally honest. I think this game is going to crush. There is far to what did the last Spider-Man do? Like,
good question. Let me
here. You give your answer and I'll look that up.
I think it's going to be huge. I'm with you. I think especially now that we've gotten Spider-Man and we've gotten the remastered and we've gotten Miles, I think in its first 3 days it's gonna go absolute gangbusters. Like I think it could clear 10 in in its first month easily. I think it'll do more than what God of War did in its first couple of months. And I can easily see it being just monstrous numbers as it goes on.
So PS4 has sold 8.76 million units of Spider-Man.
Okay.
But once again, that's when I think video games are so much bigger. And I'm still going to say this. The Last of Us TV show is selling consoles right now.
Mm-hmm.
It literally is selling consoles. And so you're going to get more people jump into Spider-Man. And also, I would say this, Spider-Man PS4 is on PlayStation Plus.
Yep.
So it's not Spider-Man, $33 million in sales.
Yep.
There we go.
There you go. Monstrous. And like
monstrous.
Apparently even on on Steam, it's probably sold over 1 million copies. I'm very curious. Spider-Man.
It sold 13.2 million units by August 2019. 20 minute units the regular game and with the remastered. 33 million.
Yep.
Holy moly.
And Miles has already, up until July 2021, so again, this is quite outdated, already sold over 6.5 million units. So like Miles,
Game is
again,
going to
Miles,
be a monster.
Like I think it's gonna fly through because you're gonna have a lot of people who are there for Miles. You're gonna have a lot of people who are there for Peter. You're gonna have their.
Heck, I'm thinking PlayStation actually should have put out the remake of The Last of Us during the show.
Easily could have been.
Unbelievable. Would have been a system seller.
But then think about it this way: it's gonna end, and people are gonna be like chomping at the bit for it in a couple weeks.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, you're saying the PS5 version? Yeah.
Should have came out at the end of the show instead of the PC version.
They should have waited.
Here, simulcast. It's going to be on PS5 and PC released now. Like the show ends the next day, the game launches, and you know what? Unbelievable. The amount of people that we saw on social media saying, "I've already played this game. I don't need to play it again." After watching the show, they're gonna be like, "I need to play this game."
I mean, we just played it, and we're both already feeling the itch to jump back in.
Yeah,
like that's how good it is.
I'm telling you, I'm playing it on PC. That's for sure.
Yep, it's gonna be a monster. Let's hop back over to a couple more news stories because coming from VGC, written once again by Andy Robinson, Sony confirms it will remove the PlayStation Plus collection library in May. Those who redeem the 19 PS4 games that will still be able to access them as long as they remain subscribers. Of course, the list included stuff like God of War, Fallout 4, Mortal Kombat, Uncharted 4, Ratchet & Clank, and a bunch more. But it seems that PlayStation is taking the PS Plus collection down. Court, what do you think?
I totally think it's an inevitability. There's licensing in there. There's some games that are third party. Some of them belong to Activision, like Black Ops 3. This is just an inevitability. I understand people want to get angry about it, but I truly think it's a nothing burger. It rewarded the early adopters of the console, and unfortunately, there was a lot of people that couldn't get one. But it is what it is. Xbox is taking stuff out of the Xbox 360 store, which is not the same comparable. But I just think this is more of a nothing burger because I truly think all those PlayStation exclusives will just show up on PlayStation Plus.
That's what
I don't think we're going to lose them. And also, they're giving you a huge heads up, people. It takes 2 seconds to go into your phone and claim these games.
Yep. I do think
so. You have no one to blame but yourself.
I do think it sucks that it's leaving, especially because a lot of people who are now jumping into PS5 for the first time, like it's a huge thing to have, almost 20 games that are free right off the bat. But so I do think it sucks in that respect, but I do think you're right. Licensing and stuff like that, this could not be.
Question for you, Matt.
Yeah.
If you're getting a PS5 and it's just a matter of waiting for it, you have a PS4 right now. Do you just you have to actually have the PS5.
You have to actually have the PS. Yeah, you have to actually have the PS5 to be able to claim them. That's the kind of qualifier there.
All right, if you live in Canada, you have no excuse. They're everywhere.
Yeah, go get one if you can. Because I do.
Not if you can, dude. They're literally everywhere now. I was out on the weekend. You go to Best Buy, they are everywhere. Walmart is full of them.
Yeah.
God of War, PS5s are everywhere.
Go snag one if you.
And there you go. God of War's numbers are going to go through the roof. Every time you buy a PS5, you're getting God of War. And
that's what I'm saying. So like I think you're spot on. I think a lot of these games, if they're not already on PlayStation Plus, they just will be there shortly after this is over. But it always sucks when you're losing a bit of functionality. So anybody who's really hoping to hop onto any of these games, if you can, grab a PS5 in the next few months and download away. And again, if you already have a PS5, go claim them. There's absolutely no reason not to. There's some really fantastic games in there that if you haven't played, it's a great opportunity to. Let's keep this train rolling because we have a couple more stories to get to, including Star Wars Jedi Survivor has been delayed once again from VGC by Andy Robinson. The Respawn sequel will now release 6 weeks later than planned, EA confirms. It has delayed the release of Star Wars Jedi Survivor by just over a month to April 28th. It was originally due to be released on March 17th. And they basically went on to say that the team over at Respawn just wants some final time to focus in on bug fixes to enhance player stability, performance polish, and most importantly, the experience for the player. So we're just over 6 weeks, Court. I know that this is one of your most anticipated games of the year. How are you feeling?
I'm bummed out, but at the same time, take your time. In the last couple of years, we've had many games, Halo Infinite, Gotham Knights
Cyberpunk.
Released, and Cyberpunk and Saints Row that just shouldn't have been released. But let's be honest here. Halo still. To me, I'm just like, if you need time, take all the time you need. It's a bummer, but I would rather play a game that's not broken.
Exactly. And especially how the fever pitch that people do really want to play this, because of course for a lot of people this is a game that they're looking forward to. 6 weeks isn't that long. I would much rather take
No.
the 6 weeks and then be sitting there and owning the game and waiting for a patch if something is broken or something isn't working properly. Take your time, release the game when it's ready, and of course Court and I will be there literally minute one of day one, hopping in and checking it out because the game looks awesome.
Oh, oh,
Oh,
oh.
ho, ho. And a next story coming from, once again, Andy Robinson from VGC. Dragon Age Dreadwolf gameplay leak showing God of War style combat. BioWare recently revealed the game has reached alpha status and is playable from start to end. An anonymous Reddit user shared the early footage on Saturday, embedded below, claiming that it would be captured by a playtester who has access to an early alpha build of the game. In the 20 minutes of gameplay involving one segment or dungeon, the entire gameplay set within the Grey Warden Fortress HQ of Weishaupt. The player is a character as an Elvish Knight class. The character screen actually says that they're a mid-level Grey Warden. And they've got a sword and shield. They also have 2 party members, another Knight dude and a female Dwarf Rogue. Combat is completely in real time and similar to a hack and slash. And the guidance reference points being God of War 2018. There are other things I think that I remember seeing is that you will not be able to control your party members. And again, this
Which is weird.
Which is it seems that this kind of combat is a departure from what Dragon Age has been in the past, Court. And as someone, I don't have a lot of affinity for the series, but I know you like it a lot. Tell me how you feel about the combat change up and the rumored party switches.
As anything, when they do change ups in games, until I play it, I can't really say anything. I love the combat in God of War. I don't mind hack and slashes. Mind you, I tried to play just recently Devil May Cry, Devil May Cry 5 that came to PlayStation Plus. I'd never played a Devil May Cry game. Weirdly enough that I'd never played one. I will never play one again. That was the quickest hour that I'll never get back. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
But the storytelling usually in these games is unbelievable. The only concern I have is like Mass Effect Andromeda. They improved the combat system in that, and the combat system was great, but the game itself and the worlds and the story were terrible. So as long as they learn from that mistake from Mass Effect Andromeda, another series that I love, then I'm okay with this. I put, I'd have to say over 500 hours into Acquisition. I played 11 daylights out of that game. I did everything, every side quest. Origins. I love the Dragon Age series.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that lore. I don't know what it is about, the medieval times and the dragons and everything. I just like it. So as long as that is not broken in it, then I'm in. Am I going to play it regardless? Yeah, like I'm in. I'm playing this game. Mind you, if I don't, play it early and the reviews aren't good, maybe I have to do a wait and see, because I got burned on Andromeda. I got like the super duper edition, and I spent a lot of money on a game that was just not that good. So we'll see.
Let me ask you this, because again, I've played maybe 10 hours or so of Inquisition, and I don't remember exactly how does the combat function in past games, and why is this a change up? Like, it's not turn based, because obviously,
No, it's not turn based, but you do control. So you're doing spells and so on and so forth. So you are controlling each character. This is a little bit different because you have your party that can do other things.
Right. Okay.
So previously the combat was more The Witcher.
Okay, I see. So it was
you
a
see
little
what I'm
bit
saying?
heavier.
Like this is more arcadey hack and slash. When
I
previously was a little bit more, The Witcher 3 is more methodical and more, I would say, slower, the combat, right?
A little heavier.
And you're able to put spells, and there's more to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
There'll be, from what I'm seeing and reading, there's less to it.
Okay, a little more flashy, a little more Final Fantasy 15 than what Dragon Age
Maybe,
was
yeah.
before.
I'll never, mentioning those type of games. Yeah, don't ruin things for me. Just because you, Bobby, and Ryan all like Final Fantasy games that are terrible, it's not my fault.
I know, and you play Dragon Age games that are terrible, so it is your fault.
Fair.
No, but I'm curious because, again, like I don't know if this will make me buy in or not. Like I think one of the main things that I kind of fell off Inquisition was the kind of gameplay loop in the combat. I am curious to go back and give it another crack because, again, I've heard from a lot of people who adore RPGs that Dragon Age is one of the best. So I'm curious. I'm curious to see more of Dreadwolf, and I may hop back into Inquisition or Origins in the time being.
And I think they might get more with people loving that lore and that type of, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I think we might get more people into this.
True.
So
I guess we'll find out. Let's wrap with one last quick story because a new Wolong demo is coming to PC and consoles this month. Once again, VGC, once again, Andy Robinson. And players will be able to transfer their saves to the final game. It will release on Friday, February 24th. And unlike the previous time-limited demo released in September, it'll be available on PC via Steam and Microsoft Store and Xbox and PlayStation. And of course, you'll be able to transfer the save file to the full game. And anybody who completes it will obtain the Crouching Dragon Helmet DLC for the full game. Of course, Wolong coming out March 3rd. I'm not sold on this game, dude. I'm not a big FromSoft type player, and this for me, like the game looks interesting. I think I am gonna check the demo out, but does the demo do anything for you? Because I know you're in the same kind of wheelhouse on that. Will you check it out?
I think the demo does. It'll get a person like me to try out a game. I haven't played a FromSoft game since Bloodborne, and I didn't like Bloodborne.
Right.
You know, everybody can lambaste me, whatever. It wasn't for me. That's all. It's not like I didn't think the game was bad. It just wasn't for me.
I'm with you.
For me, yeah, I'll try out the demo. I don't mind this demo system as much as I didn't think I would use it. I don't mind it. I tried out Dying Light 2 the other day. Didn't like it at all. Thank God I didn't put money into it. Like it can either get me to buy something and then stop me from buying something. So maybe I like this game. You never know.
You never know.
But I do love the fact that your everything transfers over. I think that's very cool. So many games give you betas and all this, and then they're just like, oh, all those hours you put in, yeah, we don't care.
Well, that and it's like I do and like appreciate the fact that the demo is coming out so close to the launch of the full game. So if you do play the demo and the save transfer, carries over, less than 2 weeks later, you'll be able to hop into the full experience without it being like a month or two later. And you're like, what did I do? How do I play this game? What's going on? So I am more curious about this game now because I'll have an opportunity to check it out with the demo. But I guess we will see, Court. But let's let some of our friends into the car because we have a bunch of questions this week that we got to answer. Some no-name named Sean Capri from the Discord says, well, who is a dream guest that you'd love to have on the PlayStation Drive?
It's Shuhei Yoshida. I don't know. If you have a PlayStation show and he's not your guest, I don't even know what to tell you anymore. Like I've seen him on way too many shows. He just seems to love video games.
Right.
And anytime he's on a show, I don't know he always has a new story. Like it's always something new and he's always happy.
I would love to have him on. He seems like such a wonderful person. Greg Miller is an obvious one for me as well, as someone who, has, the reason I got into podcasting was because of him and Kind of Funny back in the day. So,
can we have him and Sean in a yell off?
Yes.
Like see who can yell the loudest.
Listen, I think if we ever get Sean, Greg, and me onto a single podcast, nothing would get done. Nothing especially if you let Ryan run that thing. The trails, like what's it called? The car would go off the rails in the first second and never make it back on. Anyways, whoop. Our next question, Brian Eck asks, with Hogwarts Legacy being Avalanche Software's most ambitious project yet, are you at all worried about the game, given how Avalanche Studio Software's has a bit of a different track history with their games? Court, are you at all worried?
Well, the reviews seem to be phenomenal, so no, people ask this about developers a lot, and I totally get the question, but I use BioWare as the perfect example of a developer that could make amazing games, and I'm already saying about Dragon Age, a franchise I love. I'm like, oh, could it be bad because of Andromeda? Like,
yeah, no, I know what you're saying because even like,
I was dying there.
I saw that.
But you have like Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 that were great games. Sorry, even Mass Effect 3 was great. Some people hate the ending, but that's fine. And then Andromeda came in and we're like, what? Like any developer can make a boo-boo.
Yep.
Like it's just, it is what it is. Look at 343. They literally, every time they put out a Halo now, it's just like, what are you doing?
Well,
these things can happen.
And like it can also go in a positive direction. Look at Guerrilla, right? Like coming from Killzone to end up making something like Horizon, like a very, very, very different game. And a lot of people really, truly adore those games, right? So I do
Except Sean Capri,
famous Horizon hater. But like, yeah, I think that, I think every developer should be judged on the game that it currently puts out. Obviously, if they have a string of hits, it's easier to get excited. If they have a string of misses, maybe it's a little bit maybe wait for reviews and see how, watch some gameplay and see how you feel about the game. But, judge a game by how it comes out in that moment, not, the past work. You never know. Savoy Prime asks, do you think the PSVR 2 will be successful, or will it just be a checkbox for Sony to say that at least they attempted it again?
Do I have my worries with the fact that live from PS5 has nothing to do with the PlayStation VR? That worries me. Does it worry me that they put all this advertising budget into this giant Leviathan axe and all this other thing when I don't think that works anymore? That's just my opinion. I really think people like to see trailers of games. They like to see experiences. That's what sells video games nowadays. It's what
Hmm.
sells movies. It's a weird choice, but the lineup is pretty cool. I was actually
Yep.
going through it because like Matt and I, we both have it coming day and date. We both pre-ordered it. I'm very excited. This is my first foray into owning my own VR headset.
Hmm.
I was looking at that kayak game. It looks amazing.
Beautiful.
So here's my thought process. If Sony doesn't continually give us new experiences, I will say that, and games regularly for the first couple months of this, it will scare the living daylights out of me because they have a habit, and I'll use the Vita as one of the best handhelds ever.
Hmm.
And Sony gave up on that thing
Yep.
real quick. And that handheld was great. Like Uncharted Golden Abyss, phenomenal game. They had probably to a lot of people, one of the best Persona games ever was on that console. That's the only Persona game that I've ever finished is
Hmm.
on that because they made games for it. The Killzone game was very good. MLB The Show ran great on that. The only issue I ever had with the Vita is the touch in the back. Like it
Yep.
just never needed to be there. Very annoying. Otherwise, that thing was way before its time, but they
Hmm.
gave up on it. So that's the only thing that scares me. But I will say the fact that they're giving us a Horizon game doesn't scare me. That means that they're saying, hey, for first parties, if you're doing the new, my guess is we'll get the new Ghost of Tsushima announced at some point this year.
Hmm.
I think if this year we get an announcement of that game, but we will coincide that with a VR experience.
I'm kind of with you. Like I think for me, I'm going to judge it by its first year more so than anything else because, like you mentioned, the PSVR original, and I mean that was the whole thing when they were talking about when Shuhei talked about it initially. They were treating it as the launch of a new console. They were not expecting gangbuster numbers from that thing day one or in its first year. So I think as long as they're planning for the long term, because I am a little bit worried with the total lack of marketing that we've seen kind of on the mass media for this thing. Um, like it's nice because the PlayStation blog is doing the Lord's work with this thing right now. Like it's all over there. Looking at Pistol Whip, which is a game I'm very excited to play on PSVR 2. There's a lot of cool stuff coming, and they are talking about launch window, the first month after the launch. They are speaking a lot to what is coming initially, and again, it seems to be like a really solid lineup. If they continue to put stuff out like Resident Evil 4, if they continue to put stuff out like Half-Life, if we do get even Atomic
Oh,
Heart.
if we give Half-Life Alex, oh my dude, that
e-
game looks amazing.
Even Atomic Heart is talking about VR integration, once the game comes out. So like if they are planning for the long haul and we get a new game, like a new first party game every 4 to 6 months from them, along the way we're getting some cool third party stuff. And I think they can win in the long run as long as that's what they're preparing for. To me, you don't go in with this level of technology and like, probably selling at a loss if you are not planning for the long haul. Like I hope that's what I hope that's the way that they're looking at it because otherwise they are going to mess it up. But we'll see. Our next question comes from Drellish says, "How excited are any of you about another Dragon Age game?" Excuse me. Now that you know that it's gotten
Well,
inspiration from God of War 2018, I could not complete Dragon Age Inquisition, but I remember spending countless hours with Origins and Dragon Age 2 on PC where it originally came out. What is your history with Dragon Age, and what are you hoping to see from Dreadwolf? So we've both already kind of covered our levels of excitement and our history
I
with
played all of them.
yeah, with the series. So what are you
And
what do you
what am I
want
hoping?
what do you want for Dreadwolf then? What are you hoping for from that game?
Story, because they're one of the best storytellers in games. The very first one I ever picked up was Origins. No,
Mhm.
sorry, Dragon Age 2. Yes, I wish Drellis was just in here because I can see the cover. It's got the dragon coming across the side. It was on PlayStation 3.
The white
It
one,
was the first,
the white thing with the red.
yeah, and the dragon's coming across. I
Mhm.
got into the series late.
Okay.
Um, I just think they're very good at lore building, and they're very rarely was I doing a side quest or doing any of these quests on the side that I didn't care about, and I fast forwarded the conversation. And I've done that in a Mass Effect. I've done that in a lot of games where I
Mhm.
fast forward the conversations. I didn't there because they almost like meant something. It's a lot like God of War. God of War does a very good job with their side quests and making them interesting. And so does Assassin's Creed, actually. They do a very good job at that as well. But they are very good storytellers. So as long as the story's there, I think and it's not turn-based, which it isn't, I don't think they can screw up. Like, as long as the story's there.
Yep.
The story has to be there. I think the combat style I can get used to as long as the story is quality in the game. That's my biggest thing there. If I'm getting another Andromeda, and sorry, Kevin, you're wrong. If I get another Andromeda, I'm going to be angry.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think for like what would pull me into it would be hearing about the narrative, hearing about how the combat works, because that's all I've ever heard about from Dragon Age is how deep and how much player choice there is in the stories, how much you can influence what goes on. So I think for Dreadwolf, that's kind of my biggest hope is give me a living, breathing, expansive world that I can, manipulate and change based on my own decisions. And, I think I might be in. Our final question comes from Friday Night Gamecast at Friday Night Gamers on Twitter. They ask, do you think we'll see brand new IP at this direct? I'm assuming that they mean at the next state of play, whenever that's going to be. But
yeah,
do you think we'll see brand new IP whenever we get that next state of play, Court?
I'm very optimistic. I think no. I think we're going to, with what everybody has been doing lately, Nintendo and Xbox, I think, have set the stage that you don't do that anymore.
Debut
Like,
new IP? Or
yeah, well, like no, unless it's coming out in the next couple months. Like, if I wouldn't see them doing their next direct going, oh, PS, we're working on Ghost of Tsushima. We can all look it up on LinkedIn. You're working on a new Ghost of Tsushima. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I think with the new way that they're doing things, Game Awards and the time E3 time, you can show whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're doing these state of plays and it's to showcase, I would assume we're getting a state of play for PlayStation VR, but I shouldn't assume that anymore. I hope
blog post.
Oh, it's gonna be a blog post. Because we got live from PS5, but I think live from PS5 is building up to something. No, it's gotta be starting the marketing train. But I would think that our next direct, if we do not get a VR direct, is for Spider-Man 2. And they would probably yeah, seriously. Well, what else are we getting?
Well, that's what I'm
saying. What else is
saying.
coming besides your little Final Fantasy thing and the one that Ryan thinks is coming that's not?
That's what I'm saying.
That game ain't coming, Ryan.
Rebirth. I mean, there's a pizza bet on the line. I want it to come, but at the same time, I don't want it to come. For me, I think we will see new IP because I do think we're going to start to see some of these new free-to-play things that they're talking about, which I do think we're going to get some new IP there. And I do think we'll probably get some more stuff from them this year because it can't just be Spider-Man 2 and Final Fantasy 16. That's already...
Remember Destiny. We got Destiny.
Right.
It won't be just that. But new Destiny.
But again, like that's coming out in February. That new expansion is soon, right? Like they need...
Yeah, but we know that blog post is coming, buddy.
I know, but like we need something else. I think we need at least one more new thing, whether that's factions, whether that's a new IP. I do think we will see new IP.
Well, we got... Sorry, continue. Yeah. My apologies.
I do think we'll see new IP whenever we get the new state of play. And I think it's going to end up being some of the free-to-play stuff that they're alluding to, because if they have like 15 games in the works between now and 2025, some of those have to hit this year.
Well, yeah, we've got Burning Shores, which is April.
Right.
Okay. We've got Spider-Man, which is what, November?
Probably.
November,
yeah.
September,
yeah.
September, November.
Yeah.
Definitely around that time. And we already know of Death Stranding 2. What else are they going to show besides Days Gone's old studio? What is Ben's? So we need to see something from Ben.
Yep.
We need to see something from... When was the last time we saw any stuff from like the makers of Dreams?
Oh, they're still just Media Molecule. They're still just doing Dreams.
Oh god,
they're not doing anything.
So we know we're gonna see something of Ghost of Tsushima. What is that game? So let me ask you, what is that game that we don't know about besides these free to play stuff?
I think that's what it is, though. I think it's gonna be shooters.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be free to play shooters.
Factions
is an easy slam dunk as well. But I think we're going to start. I think we're gonna get one or two. I don't think it'll be more than two. I think we will get two of those free to play games. Do you think
there's a title of one of their big tentpole games that we don't know about that's a free to play game? Besides the Horizon multiplayer that doesn't look good. Well, I mean, you weren't here last week.
I know. I watched it. I know it's old. I'm gonna wait to see more from it before.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm with you. I just hope it's not Coperni. I don't want that. I didn't like Brawlhalla. I don't want a Brawlhalla Horizon.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I think in terms of, I maybe that Uncharted if it's real, maybe that Metal Gear if it's real, if that
you just had me at hello because that is in the live from PS5.
What is?
It's in there. Uncharted is in there. I'm sorry, I'm gonna call it out. That is Uncharted. That is Nathan Drake's daughter. That's Uncharted.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. I think maybe we'll get that. Maybe we'll get. We already know Gran Turismo is coming with the VR mode alongside the PSVR 2. For me, I think we're going to start to see this free to play stuff hit this year. I think Factions will lead the way, and we might get something new on the back half of the year because I do think Factions is relatively imminent. And then, yeah, I think that's what it's going to be.
Do we shadow drop Factions after The Last of Us?
I sure hope so, but I don't know if they would. I feel like
I want to shout out just because Hi-Fi Rush was such
I know.
shout
out. 100% with you. But like, I feel like they're going to ramp up like the marketing cycle hard for anything The Last of Us related.
Do you think we get any story to Factions, or is it just multiplayer?
I think there will be story,
like a Division type thing.
I think there will be story built into it.
Nice.
I do. Because I feel like they're really going. I think the Division is probably a perfect example of what that game is going to look like. A Division meets like a State of Decay-esque type hybrid. I do think we're going to see some story stuff from there. But based on whatever QZ or wherever
language, Matt.
We'll see. Let's quickly hop into question of the show, because the last question of the show we asked, what era of PlayStation is your favorite so far? Not specifically console, but console games, memories, and so on. Darth Stradius, excuse me, said PS4 right now, being RDR2 is my favorite game of all time. Drellish says he lives in the present, no use for clamoring on what was. Present era, we are so lucky to have so many games to play with. Best memories indeed include first Uncharted 2 time playing Myth on a Mac and Blade Runner on PC. And they were blown away with Uncharted 2. Brian X says that nothing will ever come close to the PlayStation 2 era. Too many countless hours playing with friends and my younger brother. But I agree with Drellish. Gaming today is pretty darn great. Our $2 hero, Seth, said loving PS1 very, very much, but ultimately have to go with the PS2 for Guitar Hero alone. Nagachaka said the PS4. We got some of the greatest bangers of all time with Nier Automata, Red Dead Redemption 2, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Resident Evil 2 Remake. And of course, we also got Final Fantasy 7, Ghost of Tsushima, and the greatest game of all time, The Last of Us Part 2. And yeah,
how dare you say things that aren't true all the time?
Nagachaka speaks the truth.
No, he doesn't.
Court, what's your favorite era of PlayStation so far?
PlayStation 1 is just my first era. It's my fondest memories. It's where I first played Metal Gear Solid, sorry. It's where I started playing NHL when it looked like that was the first era of video games for me, as someone that, had an Atari, went from the NES to the PlayStation 1, where I was like, oh my God, this looks so real. Mm-hmm. It ends up not being that, because I remember Tomb Raider. I'm like, oh my God, it looks so good. So that was the first time that I was like, video games can look like this. So it's always, you always have those memories. And there was a lot of shovelware games, but also, I can't believe you're going to say this, it was also the first console where you could mod it, and you could just burn games, and you could have every game that ever existed.
Everything.
So I never didn't have the game. So
yep. Yeah, I'm with you. The PS2 is one of my favorite eras, but I think for me, like, the PS4 has to take it. It's like the first console that I went out and bought like by myself. I have so many fantastic memories playing stuff like Battlefield, obviously the Uncharted, and so many of my favorite games live and breathe on that console. And just having that kind of autonomy to, play it whenever I wanted. I didn't have to share it with anybody. It was mine. And I absolutely love that. And of course, I'm going to kind of bring in the Vita alongside that, because I count that as alongside the PS4, because again, Vita, like you've already said, one of the best handhelds ever. Our question of the show this week: are you picking up PSVR 2 on launch? And what game announcement would make it an instant buy for you? It could be a game that's not announced, that's not real, but are you picking it up on day one? And what game would make it an instant buy for you? Let us know. We're going to post the question in the Discord. Court, that brings us to the end of the show. Before I talk about our lovely patrons, where can people see and hear more from you?
You can find me on Twitter at Court Lalonde, or you can find me at Carpool Gaming.
Make sure you go follow Court on all the places. Check out The Last of Us post-show. Episode 4 will be up later today. And of course, for myself, you can find me on Twitter at Matt_SilverSoul. And for our wonderful patrons, I want to give a huge thank you to our ultimate producers, Robbie Bobby Miller. Subscribe to Robbie Bobby's Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Robbie Bobby Miller. Trucker Sloth, Tony Baker from Quest 4 Pixels. Please subscribe to youtube.com/Quest, 4 Pixels today. Jonathan Brown, the new album from PME is called Video Game Boy and is available on Spotify and Apple Music. Lee Navarro, the fearless leader of the Phoenix Overdrive Extra Life team. Links are in the show notes. Please support these ultimate producers. Also, our platinum producers, Marcus McCracken and RJ Kern. Our gold members, Anna Bauza, Cecily Carosa, Dallas Robbins, Strelish, Emily O'Kelly, Foolish Fuji, Jonas Young, Jose Jimenez, Marcus O'Neill, and Tim Paulin. Special thanks to Bowser for upgrading to gold. Special shout out to Luke Lore, who is now supporting us on Patreon. And of course, we want to welcome back Sean Hannigan to the Patreon at the exclusive tier. Everybody over on the Patreon, everybody who listens to the show, we appreciate you all very, very much. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, toss comments down on the YouTube. Again, it helps more people find us. We appreciate you all very, very much. And we will see you next week. Peace.